Before I begin the episode, allow me to inform you on 3 ways you can support the In the Works podcast that are no cost added. The first way is to like, subscribe, and comment. This tells the algorithm that you, the listener, are engaged, which in turn will boost our exposure. The second way is also part of the first, commenting on YouTube. Personally, I like comments. I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking about while listening, and it's the only current way I receive feedback and communication. Let me know the things you would like to see in the future or the questions you will have. This allows me to better tailor the future podcasts to you, the listener. The last way is through your regular Amazon purchases through an In the Works affiliate link. Simply click on the Amazon affiliate link in the description on YouTube, and this will bring you to Amazon. Search and order the item or items that you were going to buy anyway. Amazon gives us a small percentage of the cost as commission. Again, this will be no added cost to you. If you are already purchasing something through Amazon, just go through the link and a small percentage will be kicked over to us. This will help us with any platform fees, software costs, growth, and allow for more time to be put into the podcast. Thank you for listening and thank you for supporting. And without further delay, enjoy this episode of In the Works.
In the Works.
Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off of your goal. From Henry Ford.
Henry Ford, no way.
Yeah. He's a little well-known guy.
Yeah. How does that quote impact you?
Well, so let me start from the beginning.
Okay.
So, what connected me with that quote, I think, was what I know as the call to greatness, which is kind of an abstract way of saying that kind of gut feeling when you're in an unfamiliar territory. So I had a class in high school, obviously, and it's a class where you're allowed to take internships and things like that. And we got a guest speaker from someone in, I think, the downtown area who he started a haircut business. And he listed his number one motivator as this call to greatness. It's kind of that gut feeling, that fear that makes you feel like you're, just something that you're unfamiliar with. And he recognized that as kind of the moment that you feel that you're scared to jump is exactly when you should. So that quote, and knowing the things that obviously Henry Ford has accomplished and the impact he's made on our world, knowing that he follows that same kind of rudiment, I think kind of hit home for me. And I think that's something that I like to focus on in my everyday life.
Call to greatness. So it's just that feeling, like almost like nervousness, or
basically, yeah. So during this kind of seminar, obviously there were questions and everything like that. You could compare it to that. It was kind of funny because as he was talking about this, soon after he finished his seminar, people could give questions and everything. And it's kind of that pit feeling where you're like, I want to ask a question, but you're really nervous.
Oh, okay. So you're about to do something, but then you kind of like pull back a little, like
exactly. It's the hesitation.
Yeah, and that's the go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just that moment where you strike your name down on the paper or decide to raise your hand or something like that.
It's like, this is it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And that might be why they call it call to greatness. Cause I'm like, okay, that when you hesitate, it's called the call to greatness.
No. Yeah. Which, I mean, it's a difficult thing to describe, I guess.
Yeah. I've never heard that before. And how do you apply that to what you're doing?
So in my mind, the difference between somebody who, I guess maybe not does great things, but kind of puts themselves out there, and someone who you could call maybe successful or outgoing or something like that, the difference really is those people that kind of take that call to greatness. So it's just it's a moment of self-reflection. Whenever you do feel that, the first step is recognizing it, being like, okay, this is a moment in time that I feel like I can't do this, which is that moment of doubt that you should kind of flip on yourself, where when you do flip that on yourself, it kind of acts as motivation instead. You kind of repurpose that feeling.
Yeah, I almost I think of it as your brain trying to stay safe is that moment.
Exactly.
Because I know what you're talking about, and anything where I'm like, oh, I need to go do this, I have to something different.
Exactly.
Something where you're going to be out of your comfort zone. You go, I don't know, like,
Exactly,
and you just pull in, and every time I'm just like, stop, like, stop doing
Which was
that.
really helpful whenever, you were like, approaching a leopard or something, but it's less helpful when you're raising your hand at a seminar.
Yeah. All right. So we're back within the works, and we have a guest here who is, I know you from work, and that's
Mainly
it. Just
work, yes.
grocery store. That's where I know you from. I don't think I know you from anywhere else. No, that's all.
That's all of it.
So who are you?
I am Lander Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 18 years old.
Gotcha. And where are you from? What school do you go to? You don't have to say that if you don't want to.
I'm from Kansas City. I live probably closer up into the Parkville area, and I go to Park Hill High School. So basically, just a couple of blocks away.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I love this location. But yeah, I mean, you got a semester left, and that's pretty cool, man.
Senior, man.
A senior, and you're going to be out. And yeah, so it's an interesting time. That's for sure. And everyone I've interviewed so far has been out of high school already. They've had like that little, intermediate patch between, college, or maybe they're figuring out something.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're right at the tail end. You're right where, yeah, I haven't interviewed somebody in high school yet.
Really?
Yeah. It's only been people out of high school, even though they've been like the same age. I think the podcast I sent, Brogan, he was homeschooled, so he was in college really young.
That's true.
So he was 18, but he had
was
college
like 14
experience.
or 15 years old or something like that, which was insane.
Crazy.
He said he was a junior at 18.
Yeah,
or something like that.
imagine
Dude.
having done college classes already.
Well,
like
I have.
which
is the weirdest part.
Yeah, I mean, like
definitely not
at the campus.
Freshman in college at the campus.
At the campus, but yeah, are you doing like dual credit or AP?
Yes, yeah. So more dual credit now than anything. So, and obviously it's small because I mean, if you're a high schooler listening and I'm like, well, it was that call to greatness that made me take dual credit classes. Yeah. Like, shut up, man. But
I am at the top of my game. Exactly, I peaked in high school.
300th of my class.
Yeah,
but I mean, I was honestly scared of things like dual credit and things like AP and whatnot. But taking those classes that are really only open to people like juniors and seniors and, college credit and things like that, those are really those classes that kind of set you apart or are usually more specific to the thing that you want to do. So any of the, I wouldn't call it fear per se, but kind of uncertainty that comes with taking those classes, that definitely helped, where I could just take a moment and be like, this could be good for me.
The call to greatness.
Exactly.
It's crazy because I took some dual credit and I think 1 or 2 AP courses, but they kind of make it sound so scary. Because like it's a college course and you're gonna have to pay for it, and there's gonna be a test, and there's gonna be and then you realize, okay, it's not crazy. Maybe for something like AP physics, that's going to be a shock. You're not used to having homework every night that takes, more than 15 minutes.
Thankfully, I didn't take that one.
Yeah. Because stuff like that, that's where it gets to, okay, you as a high schooler actually have less time than a college student, and you're taking a college course.
Exactly.
Yeah. Other things like AP US history was an easier AP course to take, at least for me. As some people have horror stories depending on the teacher.
Yeah,
but I think history is one of those things where it's very teacher dependent.
That is very true. There's only in my school, there's only one. There used to be 2. There was one teacher that did American history and AP American history. And then there was another teacher that ran a Civil War class that I was in.
Ooh.
Which I had like a Civil War and Reconstruction class. Was awesome because he was such a nerd about it. I just love a teacher that just like knows what they're talking about. He told the stories like he was there. Like, it was amazing. But unfortunately he retired the day after, or not the day after.
The day after school started.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually a sub the whole time. No,
yeah.
He had retired the year after I took that class. So that was a little unfortunate. But now the only teacher in the entire school that does a push, he's a cool teacher, but it takes a lot more self-motivation than I had. I wasn't used to, not only was I not used to the AP format, but it took a lot of self-responsibility.
Yeah, I'm guessing assignments and essays and stuff like really specific.
I filled 2 notebooks.
Filled 2 notebooks, dude. My first semester of college, I had a fantastic history teacher. It was like Western civilization, I think, was the class, and there are like 3 of them that sound similar. It was like not the first 2, not the history before 18 whatever, and history after. It was like one more after that. Forget what it was, but I think it was like Western civilization. The dude told everything like a story, like you were saying, and you would just sit in class and you're just like listening. It's like story time. You'd pay attention because why wouldn't you? You're sitting there and he has your attention. Like somebody who like good speakers, when you're just looking up there and everyone's just listening and waiting for the next word, not necessarily like out of their seat, but just like engaged.
Ready,
It was like that pretty much every class. I forget I think his name was like Howell or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because mine was How.
No way.
Howe. Yeah.
Was he bald?
A quirky guy. Bald. He drank bubblies. He had a sticker on the back of his
Did he kind of talk really loud? Oh, no way.
Wow.
So he went to your school instead of...
He did.
No way.
He did.
No way.
Yeah.
I was wondering where he went.
For a couple of years too.
Was that the guy that...
That was the guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Exactly. You know what I'm talking about. That's crazy.
I guess we went to sister schools. So that makes sense. Yeah.
But no, he was at Maple. So I'm surprised.
Really?
So I guess he went into high school, or maybe he was doing high school the whole time. But
maybe he does both. Oh, he might have been doing... I think he was one of those teachers that held like online college classes and high school classes. Like
gotcha. Yeah, I had him in person. But that was, let's see.
Or something like that,
6 years ago.
Oh my God.
5 years
Fair
ago.
enough.
But if you go by the year, it's 6.
Yeah, I was playing Fortnite at the time.
Wow. He was awesome. And all we had were essays. And he's like, name dates, important events with the essays. He's like, what happened? And, take me through what happened.
He told me proper nouns.
Yeah. And it's story. It's all about stories. And I got a lot out of him. I learned a lot from him. And you felt like when you went to class, you're like, what I paid for that class, I'd pay again. Like it's
exactly. Yeah,
I got the money's worth out of that. I feel like being in that class was better than just trying to get the curriculum off of YouTube videos.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So it wasn't
just watching crash courses the whole time.
Yeah. I wanted to go. I just wanted to hear the story, even if it was something I knew generally well, or, even if I was tired.
Yeah.
That's just, yeah.
Yeah. Which I always took history classes kind of with the understanding that I knew a good amount of it already.
Yeah.
So considering that the way that they can, so I can kind of relate to that. And the way that they tell the stories is always like, I never thought that there was that much involved.
Yeah. And there's more. And I don't know, the perspective he would take a couple different perspectives, and he would, again, tell it in that framing. And so you just got this, you felt like you were saying, you kind of felt like he's telling you as if he was there.
You felt almost like a spectator.
Like
you were getting the lore.
And he was like, hey, this is what happened back in my day. Even though, he was never around.
When I was trying to assassinate Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Man, that's crazy. I wouldn't have thought we had the same teacher.
That really is insane. I love that.
And this whole time, I've known you for like, what, a year? Maybe a year or two?
I mean, I've been in the same job as you for... It's a year and a half now, actually.
Year and a half.
I was going to say 2 years. I was getting ahead of myself.
And never would have noticed. And I feel like we've gone on history teacher topics.
History teachers before, yeah.
All right. So that's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Kind of going to dig into you a little bit.
Of course. Go for it.
And just take me through your upbringing. You could say as little or as much as you want. What kind of kid were you?
Yeah.
What stood out to you? Interests? What did you gravitate toward? What was going on at the time? And you could go through chronologically. You could hit some events. Just I want some context on you before I knew you.
Of course. Yeah. So in terms of like schooling and living and things like that, I've lived in Always the same town, same city, generally same area and everything. So I don't really have any experience with moving or anything like that. All my schools have been really close together, so I'm very thankful for that I don't have to worry about having to move or do anything like that. Very basic kind of family situation, just middle class, just normal, good stuff. And I think, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a place to start here.
Well, you said normal. What you could just say, like, what's your family like? What's normal to you? Because that's not necessarily normal to everyone else.
Well,
what's your dynamic? How do you function?
I mean, yeah. We're very fun. So I was
board game type of people.
Yes, actually,
yep.
Definitely board game.
You could tell. You could tell. All right.
Yeah.
If you're meeting someone for the first time and you're not sure about them, is their family board game people? Now, do they fight each other during board games, or is it playful? That's the two things. So they're either crazy if they fight each other during board games, like it's toxic to be in there,
Monopoly,
or if it's like fun toxic to where it's like enjoyable. Everyone's laughing, but they're
we've
competitive.
got there are 2 or 3 forbidden games because people if you catch us playing Monopoly or Clue, there's some tension. So I think so. I took a French class, and you learn a lot about family in France and whatnot, which I know is a strange segue. But the reason I bring that up is I think it's kind of French style. My parents always treated me as an individual. I was never really treated as a child.
Gotcha.
Which I know which is I can explain. So
go ahead.
Yeah. My dad told me a story about when he was a young adult. I think he was babysitting or something like that. And his friend, he always considered himself not very good with kids, but his friend very much was. And he came to him, my dad came to him looking like, how do you navigate, like babysitting and things like that? How are you so good with kids? And he goes, they're just little adults that just really want to be friends with you. So I think they took kind of that approach to raising me and my brother. I live with my mom, my dad, and then one brother, and a younger brother. And we were always kind of taught to be self-sufficient, very individual, and I'm thankful to have kind of the liberty to do that.
Is there still a community aspect that is taught within your family?
Absolutely.
So it's not just like, hey, you're on your own, buddy.
No,
type
absolutely.
Deal.
So we have I don't know. We do have a great sense of community. Okay. I guess.
So it's just being like a sovereign individual, but still, working together.
Yeah, absolutely. We were certainly taught to be, free thinkers. Question the things around you. As much as I am your parent, it's possible for me to be wrong. Yeah. Everyone can be. Think for yourself. And I think that's really helped in terms of the way that I navigate the world, because it's less so looking back on, how was I taught? How was I this? How was I that? But more, how do I apply that to the young adult life? Because that's kind of the realm of my life that I'm entering, because I'm having to become more independent, having to become more self-sufficient. So the real question is, how do I approach that? And I think I was taught very well on how to do that. I was taught how to cook, clean up after myself, maintain responsibilities, and especially with I guess this whole call to greatness thing. It takes there's a lot of responsibilities that come with that, and I think that's a big part of my upbringing was responsibility, was knowing that. I guess just knowing that you have to balance and maintain those responsibilities. We have a couple of things that we like to call Thompsonisms.
Something I've noticed is a lot of families put ism on either their first or last name, depending on. That's
dude, it's like it's
something I've just noticed everywhere.
Yeah.
People.
Have other people talked about that?
Yeah, well, not necessarily on the podcast, just that I've spoken to. Either it's like the individual, like say Landerisms or something like that, for their own personal quirks, or the family thinks they do something quirky, or family quirks where Thompsonisms, which I guess it's just a part of identity. Like, hey, these are things we care about or we do, and that kind of separate us generally from other individuals.
No, exactly. Yeah. As much as they can be the same, they like each one of them has a story, and I love that there's that kind of sense of identity. And I'm actually really glad that we're not the only ones.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
It's good for group cohesion, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So the two biggest ones that came up whenever I was growing up, I was kind of a rowdy child, and a big thing that came up often was it's not how you break it, it's how you fix it. Which I think is because you're going to make mistakes and you're going to mess things up. You're going to show up late to work. You're going to miss an assignment. You're going to say something you didn't mean to, or you wish you could take it back. It's not necessarily because obviously you can't fix everything.
Yeah.
And you can't take certain things back, or you can't, this or that. But it's how you work on learning from the experience, or trying to make amends, or, basically write everything out, because you're always going to make mistakes.
Yeah. So when it happens, what do you do? That's
exactly. Yeah. It's the way that you look at things.
So I'm kind of curious. You were talking about how your parents, treated you, as a person, as an adult.
Yeah.
What sort of stuff were you exposed to as a child? Were there still like blocks, like, hey, you can't watch this stuff, maybe when you're a little older, things of that nature? How much of a individual adult were you allowed to be as a child?
Yeah. So less so, I guess maybe not as an adult, but certainly as a...
I could have misheard that.
Oh, no. That's what I said. So, I could say this first. I'm very thankful that I was not given a cell phone or a tablet or access to the internet until I was 12 years old. Which is really nice.
I think I got my first phone in 8th grade.
8th grade, mine was I think like 7th grade or something like that.
I can see that.
So that was kind of they really liked it whenever they didn't want me to kind of be an iPad kid, I guess.
Yeah. There are plenty of those now.
Yeah. So they it was I don't know.
Hard to describe.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, the thing is, obviously I was there.
Yeah.
But
it may not be as clear from that perspective.
I haven't thought about it. So, I guess kind of looking back, I was expected to order for myself, like whenever we'd go to restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
If I wanted something, I was expected to ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the biggest thing was I wasn't treated like a child. My opinion was always heard. I was, I didn't have any less of a vote simply because I was on the earth for less years than somebody else, which I think was really important because it established a level of self-worth, because I think it's very easy for a parent to look at their kid and say, well, it's because I'm your parent, or it's because of, being able to kind of express that parental power without any actual reason. So I think that also kind of adds to the togetherness and the community in my family, I think, because we all look at each other, which, not that most other families don't or anything like that, but we certainly, even at a young age, looked at each other as equals. And I think that I don't know. It raised me to be the kind of kid that was comfortable with speaking with adults and was comfortable with speaking out loud and speaking my opinions. And I think it helped with being, confident in myself, being able to think independently from others.
I'm guessing they did a lot of explanation on like their reasoning behind telling you to do something or why not to do something.
Exactly. Yeah. It was
expected you to learn from that.
Yeah. It wasn't ever, it wasn't ever just because I told you so or just because I'm your parent.
Yeah.
It
Like,
was,
hey, don't do this just cause,
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was like, well, why do I have to do my chores or why do I have to go to bed on time?
I guess kind of to my previous question is it's more like, things like, say, the topic of death, maybe even violence, of, more complicated things that you see around. How much were you sheltered from that, and how were you exposed to that in a positive way?
I would say, so I guess this could kind of go back to the how I wasn't exposed to the internet at a very young age, because I know that it's kind of a universal truth that there are a lot of bad things on the internet.
Oh yeah.
That a lot of specifically young kids are exposed to, that
or stumble into.
Exactly. Yeah. Not necessarily always on purpose, but usually it's, stumbled upon or something like that they shouldn't necessarily be exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when they're not ready for it, or it's taken as a joke by people who are older and can understand it better, or have simply a different relationship with
like
topics.
A bunch of those violent videos and like gruesome things.
Yeah. So especially when you're tackling topics like death and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of as I mentioned before, because I didn't have that, my parents were kind of able to control my exposure to that so that it wasn't kind of tainted by the freedom of information, I guess. And it was it made things a lot clearer for me, and they were able to reason through it, I guess.
What was your first clear exposure to something like that? Like, was there a family member who passed away? Was there like a bully or something, or,
Yeah. I had a family member pass away. To be completely honest with you, I don't remember who it was, because I was young enough to the point that I didn't remember a lot of my extended family.
Makes sense.
And there were a lot of people that were kind of invited to the funeral that were, more extended than others, I guess. Some people that were like, who is this guy anyway? Or, so I was kind of put into that position, and being able to, for the first time, being exposed to an environment where I obviously wasn't exposed to death or loss or anything, because they weren't necessarily in my life previously. But I think the most eye-opening thing about that experience was that I was exposed to people who were close to that person, and people who, you had to be sensitive to, even though you were more disconnected to the situation than they were.
Working on that empathy.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think actually, maybe I couldn't root it to that specifically, but I do know that somewhere in my childhood, or just, maybe something in the way that my brain's wired, I'm a very empathetic person.
Yeah. Well, was there anything you kind of pulled from that stayed with you, even to this day? Is there kind of an outlook on death that you have, or has kind of changed throughout the years?
I would say the biggest thing is that people experience it differently, because not only do people look at it with different perspectives in terms of like seriousness, whether that be because of, distance or, maybe trauma or something. But certainly that other people have different perspectives on certain situations, and that being sensitive to that and being conscious of that, I think not only does help with things like empathy, but it just works with understanding people. It kind of puts you in a situation where you can, sit and kind of be on like a podcast or something like this, that I can, it's reading social cues. It's understanding how the things that you're doing and portraying may come off to another person, and kind of that self-awareness.
Yeah. Dang. Nice. So I want to kind of ask you, like, what were your interests around, that time, your younger self? I'm not sure exactly where you want to place that. Could be middle school, could be elementary school, but what did you gravitate towards? What did you find yourself doing or being interested in, being energized by?
So I remember, when I was much younger, I'd probably say like elementary school, my big thing was I love Nerf guns and playing outside and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which I think that also the whole like me not being exposed to electronics and things like that at the time. Like I would talk to people in my grade and whatnot. They'd be like, I'm playing Far Cry on the PS3 or something like that. And I'm like, man, my parents don't let me play that kind of stuff. Or,
Did you feel like ostracized because of that?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
That's kind of the thing. Is and the first amount of games that I was actually ever exposed to were online games, like on a tablet. I think the first game I ever downloaded was actually Clash of Clans, which is pretty awesome. Which is a really good way to start.
Like, I think middle school for me when all that started. Dang.
Yeah, so my biggest thing was playing outside and with Nerf guns and things like that. And then eventually when middle school rolled around, I think I got my first Xbox Christmas of 5th grade or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I ended up making the right decision and trading it in for a PlayStation.
That's back when there was a feud, huh?
Exactly.
Before PC was a thing, or a big thing, at least.
The biggest thing was that you could play on PlayStation 3 for free. You didn't have to pay for Xbox Live.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm trying to hop into some Black Ops 2 lobbies, and I just can't do that. So I ended up swapping over to PlayStation, and then video games became a really big part of my life. Not only was I growing out of playing outside, but
oh no! So the addiction began.
The addiction, yes, and it persists.
Yikes!
But actually, I would say a lot of people can attribute bad things to playing or spending a lot of your time on video games and everything like that.
I will say attribute some good things to it, because video games are games, and games work the mind. So if you're playing some games, you learn how to function through different logical steps. And I mean, reaction time, some things you got to react. And if it's a co-op or things, you got to work together with people to do things. So it's not completely the worst, but I will say it can take away from other things.
Exactly.
So did you ever still go outside, or were you just like in the cave?
So I think it's kind of this is another universal experience. I think that 6th and 7th grade were a little rough. So I did spend a lot of time. That was a lot of like, I think 6th grade and 7th grade, actually, I made a lot of friends on the bus, and I would still play outside and all that, hang out at people's houses.
Nice.
But obviously video games and things used as a medium. But there were certainly times that I picked video games over over playing outside. Mainly, I started playing Call of Duty first.
Really?
Yeah. So my favorite things being, other than like I obviously played multiplayer and everything, loved zombies. I played Ghosts. I loved Extinction. I wish they would bring that back. So certainly helped with things like coordination and teamwork and building kind of. I made a lot of friends, not only online, but also just simply like, oh, you play PlayStation? What's your gamer tag? Just making a lot of good friends.
Conversation starter.
Exactly, yeah. So it did work to make a lot of good friendships that I think that persisted for a good amount of time. And so I think it spelled mostly good things for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And was that the interest you gravitated toward? I know we went off on a tangent there, but was that kind of something that stuck out to you, or was there something else in the background that you always enjoyed that you gravitated towards?
I would say that was a pretty big part of it. I was a big fan of, so actually, now that I'm thinking back, this was very brief, but for a time I played on the PS2. And the first games that I played were things like Baldur's Gate and old MMORPGs. So I was a big fan of super nerdy stuff, high fantasy, dwarves and elves, and
so that translated to your current D&D playing.
Significantly translate to the current lifestyle that I live.
Current lifestyle. My high school playing D&D.
Exactly.
Going to school.
Well, thankfully I don't do the school D&D club.
Yeah.
School D&D club's a little ish sometimes, but I do often play D&D and Magic the Gathering, and I like to enjoy some high fantasy games.
Yeah. It stimulates the imagination.
It really does.
Yeah.
Especially I'm the forever dungeon master, so I kind of run the games.
So you got to write pretty much. You're a storyteller.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So even if it's a lot of it is thinking on your feet, because you have to come up with the way that I run it is I just come up with a framework, because more than anything, if I was simply telling a story, I'd write a book. Then it wouldn't be fun for a player. So the big thing is being able to think on your feet and being cool and fun with your players. Yeah. So not only does that work with team building, but it does strengthen the imagination.
Yeah, that's really cool. I always find those things fascinating. I don't play it myself, but I feel like if I had time to invest into that, like it would be a pleasant experience, and especially depending on who I play with.
It.
Yeah, I know you do. Okay, we talked about this before, and I casually made fun of you.
Of course.
I don't think it's like crazy or weird or anything.
No, of course.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, of course. Of course. No, and I mean, like, it's thankfully we're past this was definitely before my time, certainly past the age of like Dungeons and Dragons. When you like worship Satan, or
or when you were kind of weird, if you ever mentioned that,
Yeah.
Because I've talked to older people, and I've said like D&D, and they're like Dungeons and Dragons, and they look and they're like,
yeah,
they're doing that at whatever, or you have friends that play that. I'm like,
exactly. Like I worry for them.
It's like yeah. Now it's cool, guys. It's not
exactly.
It's not the weird.
It's actually becoming a lot cooler, especially like being able to have like a club at school or something.
Especially
like
when
that.
talented individuals go into it, because now it's like people make YouTube videos, and it's people who are good at storytelling, world building, acting, things of that nature, writers. It makes it better than what you could kind of picture it as if you were just with your friends. Although I feel like the community aspect with your friends is really what is there, because I mean it's almost like you're going through struggles together without actually having to go and struggle.
No, absolutely. That's exactly it. And I mean, we even talked about this a little bit before the show, and that like I would love to have like recorded my games or something like that.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like,
I mean, you just get a camera that can last as long as your sessions.
Even if
you don't
need a
even
little
need
fan.
this. You just some way to record everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think you could do it pretty inexpensively, and as long as other people are on board.
Yeah. And I think even if you're not like posting it online or anything like that, or even if you're not like an incredible player or dungeon master,
You could even just go back and watch things.
exactly. No, I hadn't even thought about it before, even just now, that you could go back and be like, well, I could have improved that. The tempo really changed here. This combat didn't seem balanced. I could tell that they weren't having a good time.
You're like, how can I kind of interject this? Maybe do that.
No, exactly. Yeah. Or there was a moment that I should have been cooler here, or should have let this fly, or
Or it could just allow you to keep track of the story. You're like, oh, I did say that. We can add that in way over here.
That is true.
For like a little, jump back.
Yeah, retcon. Yeah. Because there are a few times where I'm like, oh, you guys remember that NPC or that object from super long ago? And they're like, we have that in our backpack. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. That's funny, man. Okay, so kind of pivoting a little bit. What was 2020 like for you, if you're comfortable with speaking about it?
Of course.
What was going on? You don't have to say any like beliefs if you're like, oh, I don't want to get into that sphere, whatever.
So fun.
Yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, you were in 8th grade, maybe?
Yes. So
I did the math right.
Yeah, I remember the day.
I was in college, by the way.
Sitting in my. I'm so sorry. You should have just gotten a free associates for that one.
Hey, I mean, it was community college, so
hey, fair enough.
It wasn't the worst. Any suffering with that, at least with my classes, was on me.
Hey,
not necessarily the teacher being crappy. There were a couple like kind of things, but they made it easier, and I just didn't.
Hey,
I was at home, so I played games instead.
Dude,
terrible time.
That's exactly what I'm gonna get into.
Okay, all right. How was it for you? How did you hear about it? Like, go into it.
So I actually remember the day.
The day.
The day.
Like of the lockdowns, the announcement,
It was the day before spring break. Sitting in my math class. Silence. I walk in and it's just silent, the entire room, and the teacher's hitting. You know the like disappointed teacher look, like you guys got a bad grade on a test or something, hanging his head low, leaned up on his desk, and we're like, oh no,
something's coming.
Somebody did something, and it switched from like, oh no, somebody did something wrong, we did bad on a test or anything, that to like, oh no, something's happening.
Something, yeah.
And he goes on to talk about, we all already knew, obviously, about, the whole virus and the whole, the whole Wuhan thing, just the whole situation. And the fact, it was a very surreal moment, just simply because, whereas before it was so distant, it was like,
right there.
Yes. Spring break is changing. Your life as you know it, whether positive or not, we thought it was going to be an extra week of break. It was not.
So they're just like, hey, by the way, you're going to be an extra week. And then
we're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. But like,
now you're never coming back.
As cool as it was, surreal. And especially once it got to a point where they were like, because it kept extending it. They were like teasing us with it. They were like, an extra week of break, have a good time, make sure to log onto your laptops and everything, because we will be monitoring things and everything. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll get back on it.
At some point were you just like, hey, I just want to go back to school, man?
Yes, absolutely. Dude, so I was part of the orchestra at my middle school, actually. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is being in person and being able to show up and actually play it. So obviously I'm very thankful that I was able to get an instrument at home. Mm-hmm. Because I also feel really bad for the people that forgot their instruments at the school. But they... Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
No, I had to mess with the cord real quick. It was being weird.
You're good.
Yeah.
So having to, I definitely wanted to go back to school because orchestra was just such a fun class. That's another moment of kind of like togetherness. Everyone's there. We're learning. We're playing music.
Yeah, you have to play together. Like
Exactly,
you have to be in
you
sync.
can't
Yeah,
just-
you can't not be cohesive there and sound
Which
good.
I guess that's another thing I could talk about as well, because music became a big part of my life.
Oh yeah, I was going to
Seventh
ask
grade.
about that later, but you can get into it. Yeah,
No, that is
I can
that's just
ask.
fine.
I could ask later. You could give me the history now.
Yeah,
whatever's fine.
But I'll start with, I was just in the orchestra in middle school, and that really sucked, having to do an orchestra class online.
Yeah.
And there were every now and then where they were like, we're gonna hop into class, we're not gonna play, and we're just gonna talk, because I know everybody misses being in class. And those were actually really sentimental moments for me, because I was scared for it was such a passionate thing for me. And I'm really glad that I've been able to keep it up until now. I've been playing stand-up bass for 6 years now.
Dang.
Which at this point it would have only been my second year, and I was just really scared for my future as a musician. But obviously, thankfully, it worked out. There were certainly moments that I wish I could have just gone back to school. I fared pretty well, just simply because with my quarantine life, I was able to stay inside and play games all the time and show up late to like Zoom meetings and things like that. It was incredible.
So did you guys just have like Zoom classes, were you Zoom meeting for like an hour, 15 minutes? What did your workload look like?
More than anything, it was hop on Zoom for 10 minutes and then hop on Zoom for 10 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Here are your assignments. Here's what you're doing. No Zoom meeting tomorrow or something, just kind of updates.
Jeez, man. So you just barely had interaction with school teachers and...
Yeah, it was super weird. Now, thankfully, there were some teachers that I had that I was very fortunate in that my last 2 blocks of teachers didn't want to do Zoom calls at all. So my school day basically ended at like noon, which is awesome.
Did you get any work done at all?
I had to do it all. Well, I also had cross-country practice.
Really?
So I had to fit it all in before 3 to get to cross-country practice. And usually after that was whenever, if I didn't have anything done, I was like, I'll just do it tomorrow.
Yeah. So you actually did work on some stuff.
I did, yeah.
Was it, I guess, because, with my teachers, it was a lot easier. Less was expected. How about you?
So considering that, so for the whole section of quarantine, 8th grade was really easy. That was light. This is going to be really funny. I had a lot of experience with spreadsheets. So I actually made a spreadsheet that ran through all of my classes, assignments, was color coded.
Damn.
Yellow, red represented incomplete, yellow in progress, green complete for every single day. I'd change the date, I'd make a new page, yada, yada. I'd line out the assignments and then I'd change things so I could look back and like, did I complete this or did I complete this or did I note it? So that was because the big thing was keeping track of it. Because when it's all just on your laptop.
Yeah. I had so much trouble early on with online classes because there was just so many tiny things, and you just end up big assignments and little assignments look the same. Yeah. So there was no way to, in your mind, think this is a huge assignment.
Could have been the difference between like, the teacher forgot to post it or did, or posted it like later or earlier in a different place.
Yeah.
And it's much harder to be able to relay those changes of information. So, I thankfully picked up on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you seem to fare fairly well. I talked to a lot of people that did not go the same, but of course, like school would be like, hey, your grade can't drop below this or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they just.
So for 8th grade, it actually wasn't too bad, but considering quarantine also lasted into my freshman year.
Oh yeah,
that was
weird.
Where the problems.
First year of high school in your room.
Yeah, I only have, I even as of now, I only have 3 full years of normal high school.
That's so odd.
I know. So whereas a sophomore, I felt like a freshman. As a junior, I felt like a sophomore. And even now, I probably only feel like a junior would have felt any other time.
But now you're about to leave. So it's
exactly,
like,
yeah. So I'm like, hey, whatever.
Hey, guy, get out of here.
Get out of here, man. So whenever freshman year rolled around, I still had to do practice. I still had to do workload was a little bit more. Just simply because I was on the biggest part was I was on the accelerated math track. So I had to take things like geometry and algebra 2, which as a jump from middle school math.
Yeah.
Online.
Geometry to algebra
was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because I took algebra 1A and 1B in 8th grade.
Yeah. Ooh, you were one of those kids.
I took I was passed with a C. I also passed algebra 2 with a C. But geometry, solid A. I knew that algebra was a big weak spot of mine.
Yeah.
But
so you're not a big math guy?
Not at all.
Gotcha.
and then which this is kind of related. I got a girlfriend in sophomore year. She convinced me, she loves math. She convinced me to take math analysis, which is basically pre-calc.
It's pre-calc, yeah.
Yeah. And then I also ended up taking trig.
Yeah, trig's fun though. I like trig. It's a bit much though.
That was crazy. My GPA has never been the same.
I'm sorry, but trig,
those 2 classes.
Trig is probably one of those classes that if I had not taken it, I feel like my math classes down the road would just have been a little
harder,
a lot more difficult because the stuff you learn in trig, I did in Calc 3 last semester. You know, it just Pythagorean theorem. I was using that.
Thankfully, I'm not an engineer.
It never goes away. That stuff, or for at least math or even simple math. I mean, trig is just one of those that you get a lot for your time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It extends beyond just that classroom. But math analysis, man, I failed that.
Dude, D+.
I've
close.
But then I didn't try senior year, so
understandable.
But then I failed pre-calc. You know, I failed both those classes. Passed the next one. Got an A in calculus. Nothing. Pre-calc just had nothing to do with calculus for me, at least. I don't know why, but
that's crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know. How did that go for you? You said D+ and a C, right?
Yeah, C in trig and then a D+ in math analysis, which in all reality, it didn't really change that much. It's not like I'm accelerating my math track like crazy. Yeah. And then I ended up taking, which I took both of those my sophomore year, both trig and math analysis, which is a crazy jump.
Yeah. Together, that's a bit much. 2 math classes.
And then in my junior year, I took stats, which I actually much prefer, which also fits a lot more with the field that I want to go into.
The interpretive math.
Exactly. Interpretive math.
Interpretive math.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm not going to go be an engineer, so I don't need to go take calc.
Yeah.
So.
What are you going to be? What are you trying to be?
I wanted to go to, I want to get an economics degree or work to be I want to be a financial advisor.
Yeah.
I love working with clients and
going into finances and you don't like math. Come on, man.
Well, the thing is, I mean, maybe I'll end up doing more algebra than I think.
Yeah, maybe it's just the principles, but the numbers are great.
The thing is that I'm really interested in things like stats and graphs and
gotcha.
Data
and that
analytics.
You'll be using that. Though.
Less so like calculating, momentum and things or whatever.
You know what's funny is in stats there's a good amount of calculus. when
Oh, yeah.
interpreting things. Interpreting. I forgot how to say that word.
Interpreting.
Thank you. Wow. I just had a blank spot where that word was.
Dude, I hear you, man.
I was like, I know this word. I've been saying it for years.
It gets to you, man.
Yeah.
It's that darn chord.
All right. Well, I want to ask you what, for that kind of time period, before the present, what were some major wins and challenges, growing up, and how did you grow from those wins and challenges?
So still looking at kind of like quarantine period.
Before, you could even go into like a little more into high school if you wanted to, because I'll ask about, kind of that in between from a little bit before now and then now. So
okay, cool.
If, just for the past, for your growing up, for even 2020 included, major wins and challenges. And then how did you grow from those?
So this was even before I knew of this call to greatness. Yeah. But I had taken the step to join, which I know, such a crazy thing, joining cross country in middle school.
That's multiple steps. You just keep stepping.
It is. It's
for a long time.
Steps, thousands of steps. And I was actually pretty good at it in middle school. I ended up making a lot of good friends there and ended up keeping through it even until my senior year.
Did you meet Tristan during that, or did you know him before?
Well, I knew him from classes, and he did not do cross country in middle school. Yeah. And then we both did cross country in freshman year.
Yeah. Hopefully I could get him on after his birthday.
No, exactly. Yeah. So. I was wondering if we were going to be on here at the same time.
That would be kind of cool. That would be enjoyable.
If you do one with him, I want to join episode.
It would be. Yeah, we could do that. It would be after his podcast, because I like doing individual ones first, getting to know people, and
absolutely, I understand.
I think you two are kind of funny together.
Because
so
no, you can't just throw it all in here. We could like wreak havoc on your podcast.
Yeah, I know, right?
Ruin everything.
Yeah, but we have 3 mics, so that would be totally fine.
Awesome.
So yeah, continue. Major wins and challenges.
So I know that joining cross country just in and of itself was a huge win. I ran for as crazy as middle school varsity was, which was actually really
middle
nice.
School varsity.
Middle school varsity.
I didn't know cross country was there for middle schoolers.
I think it was like brand new.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up joining that, which track was also brand new for middle school, which I was going to do track for 8th grade, but literally the weekend, our first meet was supposed to be over spring break, but. It was cut short.
Yeah.
They just canceled track altogether. The first year of track was supposed to be my 8th grade year.
You're
and
like, here we go, man.
Off.
Call to greatness.
Call to great. Oh,
no.
Okay. No, I'm good. Literally a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah. Just a minute little thing there.
Yeah, just a little, little
hiccup.
How you say monkey wrench?
Yeah. Monkey wrench and monkey and
something like that. You know what I mean?
Throwing a monkey into the gears. Wait,
some turn of phrase. And so then I did orchestra and cross country, which have been the 2 largest parts of my life since. Was pursuing music. I was in the consort orchestra, which is kind of the middle orchestra, going into high school for my freshman and sophomore year. I probably could have joined the symphonic orchestra, the one that I'm in now, the best one.
The best
little, which is less of a. It sounds like I'm tooting my own horn here, but it's a clarification because they don't go from like this is tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. It's symphonic, concert, and campus. So it's understandably kind of confusing for people who aren't musicians.
Oh yeah, because I was wondering about that. Because later when I asked about music, I was like, there was another one. I don't know which one he's in and which one's higher up. So I was like, I just put concert. Just because that's what I remember.
Understandably so. I'm not offended. It's okay. Yeah. Well, and even, and we can get into this a little bit later, but especially as you progress, you start getting into, maybe higher orchestras or district orchestras or something like that. And that's when it gets really confusing.
That's like, Okay.
But
it's like asking about courts for the justice system.
Exactly. Like, why are there so many levels?
Yeah. And you never know truly which one's which and what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe somebody who studies that does, but
no, exactly.
the average man does not.
Yeah. But that was a big thing for me. Joined symphonic orchestra junior and senior year. I've had a lot of people, like even like state-bound bassists and things like that around me to kind of tutor me. I've never had a private tutor. Yeah. Even through all my 6 years, I've just been surrounded with people who are significantly better than me, which I actually love that. Having sort of a master of the thing that you're working on, and them having that understanding where they can kind of just boil information down for you. It really streamlines their learning process.
Yeah, like here's my 5 years of experience.
No, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
thanks.
Instead of being like vibrato was a big hard thing for me.
Yeah.
But whenever it was a college student that came in to work with our class, and he was doing just internship hours or something like that. And he told me doing vibrato was like just shaking a bottle of ketchup, just like this. For specifically for a bass, you're up here. And you're
Yeah.
And I was
I'm thinking,
I was like, are you? Yeah, it was just like hitting one of these deals. And I was like, dude, I can do vibrato now. I couldn't 10 minutes ago, and now I can. Yeah. So being able to have that sort of an experience was very helpful, and especially over the course of 6 years. Mm-hmm. So that was certainly a big one for me. And then throughout high school, I had my friends push me to do things like solo and ensemble competitions, all district festivals, and things like that. Till I got to the point where this year, my senior year, I was finally able to make it to the KC All Metro String Orchestra.
Dang,
which is really nice, the all district one. I certainly couldn't go any farther than that to maybe state or anything like that. But I have a buddy who's I think second chair in the state orchestra or something like that, which is really nice. And I learned a lot from him. And then also for my senior year, I decided I wanted to pick up doing drums for the jazz ensemble.
Gotcha.
So
that was your other instrument.
Exactly.
I was trying to remember what that one was.
Yeah, playing another. I really enjoy just rhythm section.
Yeah.
So
I guess I'll continue to ask you about music now since we're here.
Go for it. Yeah.
And I don't want to miss this because I feel like it is a large part of your life and your character and who you are. So if I may interject,
of course, absolutely.
I'll ask you some questions about music. And I wanted to ask you, first off, what is your relationship with music?
I think more than anything, it's I love the process. And I think this can be translated to a lot of places in my life because with my other interests, even things like games, I love things like survival games, things that take a long time, where you can look at day one where you started and you're like, wow, I can't play a note, or I can't even, craft an item or something like that. And then being able to look, maybe a year down the line for a game, or maybe 6 years or 10 years down the line for learning an instrument, and just knowing how much progress you can make if you stick to it over time. And I've always loved that process. So I certainly have I guess in a funny way, a committed relationship with music. And it's my jazz director that I've now grown a lot closer to after joining the jazz ensemble. He's also the band director, and he has a really good relationship with music. He taught me that there's no such thing as a better or worse player, simply a player farther or less far along on their musical journey, and that learning music isn't learning an instrument, but it's more like learning a language. Because let's say you had never heard classical music before in your life, or you'd never heard jazz before in your life, it's impossible for you to know how to play it. Because looking at the notes can only give you so much. It's all about the feel, and it's all about understanding the vocabulary. Even when you go into things like trying to solo or something in jazz, which is an integral part of that, you don't learn a specific phrase and then know how to play that over and over again. It's a move, it's a muscle memory, it's a vocabulary that you learn, and that's really how you grow your prowess in the realm of music, and that's transferable to multiple instruments. No matter if you're playing a percussion instrument or a bass instrument, or which clef you're playing in, it doesn't matter, because notes are notes and rhythms are rhythms. So just part of the reason why I felt like I could tackle learning another instrument, not only was it this kind of like a call to greatness, auditioning for an instrument that I've been playing for 2 weeks. It's actually kind of a funny story because I originally auditioned for jazz bass, but this kind of state-bound friend that I have here also wanted it. He's also much better than I am, and they could only have one bass, so I was like, hey, that's fine. He's really good. I'm not gonna, don't pick me out of pity because I'm a senior.
Yeah.
And he was like, do you play any other instruments? And I was like, my dad played drums. And he goes,
my dad played drums.
Yeah. My dad usually played rock drums too. So
Gotcha. Okay.
So I was like, my dad played drums, and he goes, show me what you can learn in 2 weeks. Come back to me.
Dang.
And I was like, oh.
So were you just
Okay.
Focused.
So yeah, we had a drum set in the school. I did not have one at home. It was literally like a year after my dad sold his drum set. I know it was.
Even though you're like, oh, it's so close, that's still like a year away.
It's still a year, but I mean, still, it was, especially from my dad's perspective, I was like, hey, I want to learn jazz drums. And he's like, oh my God, I just sold the kit.
Yeah.
And we had just moved into a larger house as well. So he was like, man, and we had room too. And so we did end up buying another kit, but this was this was certainly not within the 2 weeks, not within the 2 weeks at all. It was after the fact, because obviously this was all last year. I had to audition the year before. And I've been practicing ever since. So I took my dad's sticks and then I came to the school knowing nothing. It originally started with me just like watching videos of like how to do swing, how to do bossa nova, how to do samba.
Did your dad teach you anything?
We haven't really had like a little bit of pointers. He provided
Okay.
me with sticks and everything, and he provided me with some basic rhythms. Once we actually bought our own kit, just watching him just kind of just scat and just play around on the set, watching people play that are better than you is certainly
It's crazy.
Not only is it crazy, it's also a really good way to learn your way around the instrument, especially when you just don't got it like that.
Yeah.
You watch somebody who does and who does have it.
Look
like
at the
that,
way
you're
they
like,
dance around this.
exactly. Yeah. Like I've always wondered how people can like feather the stick and play
Yeah.
so quickly. And all
I
that.
watched, I think
Which
the,
I'm just now picking up on.
what was the movie? It was like, was it Whiplash?
Whiplash. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen the full movie, but I pretty much watched it on TikTok.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like that sometimes. I recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's going away in like a month. Watch it. Incredible movie.
And I just think about that and just even that story, but also just the playing just at the end there. And I'm just watching him play it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like I tried to do, as fast as I could. And I'm like, this is not
Can
working.
I play this with my fingers?
Yeah.
No, I cannot.
And I'm like, I can't get that fast. I can't even get that in rhythm at a fast pace. I'm like, dang, man.
No, exactly. And there's a lot of finesse to it, a surprising amount of finesse to it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking at a percussive instrument like like drums or something like that.
Yeah, and that matters too.
Exactly.
Being on beat.
Well, because it's really all about tempo and all about rhythm and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because drums can't hide. There's not two drum sets.
Everyone hears if you.
It's not a line of drum sets that you can just disappear into.
Your mistakes are very evident.
They are very, very evident.
And they go, oh, yikes. And other people go off of the drums too.
No, exactly.
So if you mess up, man.
It is an audible difference. Not only is it an audible difference if you're listening to a song and the drums disappear, they're like, listen to it when I take away the drums. And you're like, that's so... There's no heart to it. It's all the meat's gone of the song. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so nerve wracking. I've only ever performed drums twice. And the second time was, I guess kind of toot my own horn. It was exactly like Whiplash because the morning, so we had a jazz rehearsal in the morning, performance in the afternoon. And in the morning, the alternate drummer, he's a better drummer than I am. I'm learning from him. He's a great drummer. He's a sophomore, by the way. Incredible. That's
they
what
just keep getting younger.
That's what. And I stay the same age.
Oh, no.
It's a Matthew McConaughey quote. I swear it is.
I mean, drummers,
and
skilled people.
drummers.
Jeez, man.
In the major key specifically. So the reason I bring that up, I don't know. He's just a really good drummer. I'm learning a lot from him. The point is, he picked up wrestling this year. Of course he did.
Nice.
In the morning of jazz rehearsal, we're playing, I'm only playing like 3 songs out of the 8 or something like that. Cause those are the easier ones, kind of, it's my second time performing. And he comes up to me and he goes, I am so sorry.
Can you?
I have a wrestling tournament tonight. You were going to have to learn all of these songs.
How do you? Okay, you got to know those things in advance. I mean, there's a schedule. Come on.
He has like 2 other brothers in the jazz ensemble, and he was in contact with he's talking to the band director and everything. I did not hear a word about this until the day before.
Oh my God.
Or day of, actually.
How did that go?
Actually not too bad. So I used his, so he was obviously there for rehearsal, just kind of brooding because he was really upset that he didn't tell me and he felt super bad, which I mean, honestly, it all went fine. It was it was Call to Greatness.
Yeah.
It was such a good experience.
You're like,
for me.
oh crap.
I felt like I doubled in, having to sight read all these songs and everything, go completely out of my comfort zone, where being put in a situation where this song does not work unless you play it properly.
Dang.
And with that kind of pressure,
And you have to play it. And you haven't done it before.
play it.
Yeah.
Which with that kind of, I work pretty well under pressure. I didn't realize how. I'm very thankful for that experience. I feel like I improved a lot as a drummer, and I feel like it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And then, which is the only reason I kind of say it's like whiplash. I'm really good friends with that bassist, and he kept calling me Neiman all day.
That's funny.
But I guess the only reason I bring that up is because I stayed after school so I could practice all the pieces because the performance was at the school. And I went to the band room after school, started practicing and all that stuff, doing some rudiments and everything. And then I go into my backpack to grab my folder, and it's not there. I don't have my folder. And if you've seen the movie, you get it.
Yeah. Oh, where's my folder?
I had to run home and get my folder really fast and get back before the performance.
That's good.
Practice the songs real quick.
Yeah.
And then
perform. Showtime.
Which I performed. It actually went really well.
Yeah.
And then I just like bringing this up. I don't like bringing up all the bad parts of the performance, but I can't really say more than it just went well without kind of getting into the weeds of it.
Nitty gritty.
But there's a Jingle Bell Rock. I have a solo at the beginning of that, and obviously I hadn't practiced that. And I fumbled on my ass.
Oh, this doesn't sound like a song.
Well, because it's like a 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, and then he points at me, and I play for like 3 bars. Nobody else is playing, and I have to bring it. I gotta bring the song in. I gotta bring the song in for everybody, and I am just and he turns around to the crowd and he goes, "Let's try that again."
He cuts you off, man. Ooh.
And I have to look at him and I go, "How do I do this?" And he kind of plays it out for me or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I, pick it up the tempo and everything. And then he 1, 2, 3, starts it again.
Dang,
and everything went fine, but it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet. Because imagine just like somebody pointing out your mistake to the whole audience, just like, "Hey," he didn't say like you sucked, but he pretty much said that was terrible.
Yeah, which in all reality, actually, I never felt that way.
Yeah.
I messed it up, and I messed it up in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But not only, them, it's a small experience for them, a larger experience for me. And I'm willing to just kind of like, I don't really see it as a loss.
Yeah.
And
it was
I know
just like, okay.
I know that he's not like disappointed in me or anything like that.
Yeah.
I've been playing drums for like 2 months with an ensemble, and then I had to learn to sight read a bunch of songs and all that stuff, which they're not hard, they're Christmas songs. But considering my experience and everything like that, I know that he wasn't like disappointed in me or anything like that. So the amount of positives that came out of that, it was really funny because everyone looked at me like, "It's literally whiplash, dude. It's all."
And the crowd could have been like, "Oh, maybe that was planned." I don't know. Because in high school scene, man, every bands do stuff, and I've been to concerts and they like do something kind of funny just to mess with the crowd. So
who knows?
It, like you were saying, it was smaller for them, larger for you.
Exactly. From my understanding, there were a couple of times where I was playing, and I think the audience could tell, because obviously there were times that I'd mess up or I'd forget a cue or something like that. And it was a group of elderly folk. We were playing for it was like a coffee and desserts kind of thing, jazz thing at the school, and there were a couple of times that it was a little cheesy. I'd have a mistake or something like that, and I'd see smiles, and they were like, and like they'd be looking at me. Honestly, I felt, maybe I'm a little vain, but I feel like they could just really tell that I was like a new drummer, really just trying my hardest. And I feel like a good amount of them actually loved that. Like I'd do something cheesy or do something off cue, and they'd like shoot me a smile. People or something. That felt really nice.
People like people, especially when they're up and coming.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, especially from their perspectives as, being older, I could certainly see how they'd look at that and be like, "He's really trying." And I really like that. You guys just got to keep that up.
Check back in 10 years later.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
see how he's grown.
That weird blonde kid's kind of a good drummer now.
All right. So I'm going to pivot a little just because we only have 30 minutes left.
No, absolutely. Go for it.
We only went page and a half. Which is fine.
Oh, yeah, no, dude, you're good.
These are all just questions.
Conversation.
Yeah,
I can always.
I enjoy hearing what you're speaking about. So, what are you doing now? Like, what's going on with you now? Where are you heading? You could talk about music a little bit, what you're doing with that, or just career wise. I mean, you got a semester left.
No, absolutely, yeah. So right now, I don't know. There's just, I guess, the big things on my mind coming back into school because first day of school's back is tomorrow.
Yeah. Dang. You told me that. I was like, already?
God, I know.
Mine's in 2
Honestly,
weeks.
I
So.
can't wait for college whenever the breaks are longer.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously classes are harder, this and that, but going into finance.
Yeah.
So it should be fine. But mainly what's on my mind now is obviously I want to keep doing drumming. Obviously I want to keep doing bass and everything. Drumming, I don't think is something I can take into college. That might end up being more of a side career. I do want to go to Missouri State and go to their College of Business. And but they also have an orchestra. So I'd like to audition for the orchestra. I'd be doing that this spring, I think February or March or something like that. And I look forward to following through with that. But more specifically to high school, I guess I'm doing Mr. Park Hill, which is it's like a pageant, I guess. Basically, you're looking for it's a bunch of senior guys. They come together and they represent a club, and they do funny skits, or they try to win the school.
It's
over
like
and try and get.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Park Hill, yeah.
Yeah, Park Hill South I think it was called Big Cat. A similar thing. Does that sound familiar? I don't know if you. It was.
Yeah, I don't think I've never heard of Big Cat before. But
it was
honestly, I really
at least
like
with us.
actually.
It was.
I love that actually.
It was really just a night, and it was skits and stuff, and you were trying to.
No, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I have to come up with like a themed costume. I have an interview. I have to do a skit. There's a little song and dance that are involved with it and everything.
Yeah.
And just by the end of it, it's basically like. I mean, when I really think about it, I think it mostly just comes down to like a popularity contest, but a time for people to come around, have a good time, be creative, represent their club. I think that's going to be really good.
Okay.
And it takes a really good amount of work to actually go into like kind of even though it's a high school pageant, it takes a lot of bandwidth, especially taking into account you still have to do classes and especially when you're doing like sports or music or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that's on my mind as of late. I have to go do I get to go do the performance for the KC All Metro Orchestra. Basically just write it out until I get to experience college life in a couple of months.
Yeah, that's gonna be, dude. That's within the year.
It's
within the year, Lander.
But
Dang, man.
in like August.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in a different place.
Yeah, less than a year, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what are some current wins and some things you are currently proud of yourself for, and maybe some current struggles as well within that?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I think a good amount of them I've already mentioned, but I think I could just keep diving into them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, however long you want to spend on here is fine.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, we have to play quite a few pieces. It's my first time being in an all-district orchestra, and we have to play a lot of pieces for that. And obviously they're of a higher skill level and everything. Some of them I'm already familiar with, which is really nice. But not only am I looking forward to that, but I'm nervous. It's a new experience for me. So I'm really looking forward to that. Getting into the orchestra in and of itself was a win way back when, but I know even just performing is going to be a really big win for me. Get an orchestra letter by the end of the year. Solo and ensemble is another competition that the orchestra participates in, where you pick a couple of pieces, you get rated. Basically, you're given gold, silver, bronze, medal kind of thing. And last year, I was fortunate enough to go to state for solo and ensemble because I got a 1 at district, and I got a 2 at state, which is 1's a gold medal, 2 is a silver medal. So very happy about that. I'm looking forward to doing that again. Already looking at pieces, and you can choose to do either like a solo piece. You could do a duet piece. You could do small ensemble with other instruments. So I could simply just do like a supporting role for a violin accompaniment or something like that. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not quite of the skill level to do that with jazz or anything like that, but there's certainly more performance and there's certainly a lot of top end for that whole drum thing. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
All right. So what drives you as an individual? Why do you do what you do?
Certainly improvement. I think it's the kind of going back and being able to look at day 1, day 100, day 1000, being able to do those kinds of before and afters, and looking at that progress over time. And I, more than anything, my big motivator now, especially when it comes to going out of my comfort zone for things like internships or auditions or jobs or certifications, I'm really working on building my resume. I'm doing a lot of, I guess, foundation work. So another big focus right now is trying to gain experience and set myself up for the future. Because I mean, I feel like I'd fare pretty well just in general, but I know that there's a lot of instances that people are like, I wish I had done it sooner, or I wish I had done this, or I wish I had done this. And I want to be able to take those opportunities when they come to me.
Yeah. I've spoken to a lot of people about, internships and stuff.
Of course.
And they said they learn the most in school. Particular things they learn in school matter more, and they know what to pay attention to when they have experience.
Exactly.
So it diversifies your skill set. Of course, it makes you a candidate, but also when you go into school, you can go, oh, I need to pay attention to this, or hey, this matters, and it motivates you to do better. Versus where, you could go into school and be like, why do I need to know about least squares, regression?
Exactly. Yeah.
When am I ever going to use this? I know I'm going into finance, but where it's like maybe on internship, you're like, oh yeah, this pops up here. It may not be the most important, but you at least need to know what it's about. So then you're sitting in school and you're like, oh, okay. I at least get the gist of it.
Yeah. A big part of that internship was, more than anything, specifically for me, was exposure, because I want to be able to, I imagine some of the steps that are going to get into, being a financial advisor, doing kind of some of that self-marketing and everything. Mm-hmm. I know it's going to take a lot of finance experience, considering the risk involved with the job. So I'm looking into things like, I'm more than anything, I'm interested in like investments and things like that. So I'd be looking at things like brokerage or investment banking and things like that. But the internship, whenever I was looking at the internship, I was doing research on accounting and how that accounting is, I originally thought that was part of something I wanted to do. Which after the internship, I think it's arguably more valuable than going into it and being, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
I do not want to be an accountant, believe it or not.
That's what internships are for, man.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So it was, because I know I learned so much from that internship, and knowing that I don't want to be an accountant is also a really important step in making sure, in building that foundation for myself, because I know it's also a thing where people are like, I wish I got this degree, or I wish I knew this, or I wish I did this. So getting that exposure, even if it's in a field that's not, sorry, I'm drinking.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. Even if it's in a field that's not the one that I want to go into, the exposure is always really good.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to kind of get more into future stuff.
Of course.
And I may skip some stuff and come back to it later. There are some main questions I want to get to.
Just fine.
First, we just have 23 minutes. I want to make sure I get the main future questions. Then I'll probably come back to something, maybe ask you about music again, and have a final question.
Of course.
So just wanted to let you know that I may swing back around after it seems like we're about to end.
Oh, yeah.
So
I gotcha.
First question. What aspirations do you have for the future, and what are you doing to fulfill them? I know you've kind of answered these, but this is more like a direct question, What are you looking, aspirations, and what are you doing now for that?
So, a big motivator for my career and the steps that I'm taking to kind of solidify my career is not only do I want to do things that give me a lot of flexibility and give me a lot of exposure in that realm of work, because, who knows, 10 years time, it turns out that I don't want to be a financial advisor, and that's completely okay. So then I can, work on doing other things, but I know flexibility is an important thing that I want to focus on. But another attractive feature of the field that I want to go into is I know that it makes a lot of money. I know that money and wealth accumulation is another really important thing to me, that I don't want to have to worry about it. And I have a natural interest in money anyway, because I know it affects the world around us probably more than anything else. whatever opinion or relationship you have with money, it has a large impact on your life. And I think understanding the way that it moves and the way that it flows and its relationship with the world, it's always something that's really intrigued me. And having that understanding, I think would be I think it's very helpful no matter what you want to do. So that's certainly a kind of a link between passion and, a passion and career that I think is important.
Excuse me. Sorry, when I don't talk, sometimes my voice is weird.
Good,
but
yeah.
that's really cool. And
Yeah.
I like to hear that you do have passion in something that you're interested in.
Exactly.
Or that you're going into. Because oftentimes it's one or the other, and people don't really know this early. So
True.
it's good to at least have a direction to shoot. I tell young people, right? I'm still young. But
Exactly.
people younger than me,
Yeah.
if you can't, because I made the mistake of like, oh, I'm not sure, so I'm just going to go for like
Just wing it
a
or something.
regular associates or something.
Yeah.
And that, that's delayed me to where I'm in school. I'm 24 and I'm still in school. Right.
Yeah.
So, and not like doing graduate work, like I'm pursuing a degree,
Exactly,
a regular one. So I usually tell them, if it just go for something, or even if you're not doing college, just do something.
Exactly.
You'll bump into other things, or you'll realize you at least don't want to do that. I had an art teacher, Callie Colvin, who would tell us, when we were drawing, she'd be like, sometimes you have to draw the wrong line to know what the right line is going to look like. And that she just said that in like art context. She was
passing,
just,
exactly.
And that always stuck with me. I'm like, you're right. Cause you can do, if you draw the wrong line, at least hey, I kind of want more of this here, more of that there, maybe this, and you can see more, you can understand more, but until you draw that line, you still got a blank page.
Exactly.
So, all right. So what do you want the next 5 years to look like?
Next 5 years.
Where do you want to be? Yeah. And this is, how old are you? 18?
18.
23. So you'll be me last year.
At 23. So
Yeah.
I would have graduated by then. Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dang, man.
4
Think
years
about
feels
that.
like a lot less being on the back end of a 4 year, like a 4 year segment. Jesus.
But no, a lot happens
Yeah.
from where you're at to
Oh, in every
23.
facet.
every
Yes.
facet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest like stages of growth, especially in adulthood, that you'll ever have. Just like
Yeah.
from child to now I'm an adult.
I
And
imagine
what does
it's
that mean?
Formative. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I want to continue pursuing things like internships. I know that's a really, just going out and just doing things.
And that's within those 5 years, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I'm kind of coning
going
here.
through and
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'm focusing, I swear. And I know that a big part of business is going to be networking, internships, going out and just doing things, even if it's at a very low level, even if I end up just pushing papers for a year, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
What I wanted to look at is that I already have 5 years of experience in the field, basically. Obviously, and I want to be able to balance things like, whether that be like nerdy things like D&D or Magic the Gathering or something like that, or more specifically music. I imagine that's going to be more of like it's a better commitment, more of it's a more improvable skill. And it's a good thing to have. I love looking at having an artistic perspective on life. So I'd love to learn more instruments. I would like to be proficient in drums and maybe learn. I think saxophone was going to be the next one. I would love to learn saxophone.
Yeah, saxophone. There's something about a saxophone, man.
Yeah. There's a really good saxophone
You
player.
play Careless Whisper.
Exactly. That's going to be the first piece I learn. If I learn nothing else, it will be Careless Whisper.
Yes.
I think so. Becoming proficient in drums, I'd love to keep up jazz drumming. So I'd love to be, and in 5 years, oh my God, I will have played bass for 11 years. If I were to keep that up, already a decade at 23 years old.
Dang.
Wow. Now that like you kind of puts that in perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to become proficient in drumming, maybe learn another instrument. But the big thing is that just cultivate my experiences, just to get out there, because I know how stranding it can feel to just be kind of thrown to the wolves of adulthood. And I'd like to be more prepared than I would be if I hadn't tackled those experiences.
Yeah. And one of the big things is you kind of got to go out and do things. You know,
Exactly,
the opportunities will come to you, but if you're just sitting and waiting for opportunity, you know, it's few and far between. Mm-hmm. But when you start running into people, opportunities open up left and right. Mm-hmm. And so last question of this kind of chunk here. How do you influence or impact the people around you?
So there's more than likely a difference between the way that I'm seen and then the way that I kind of try to portray myself. But I think the best kind of cohesive answer to that takes into account both of those perspectives would be, I try to be an anchor for the people around me. I love to try and be grounded. I love to try and be cool about things. I love to try and be understanding, empathetic, but observant and questioning. I like to. I think this could also kind of root back to my childhood. I like standing on my own 2 feet, going to the beat of my own drum, and it's a very powerful thing. But more than anything, I do like a togetherness, a community, friendship, cultivating relationships. So I think the impact, whether I have it already, I know the impact that I would like to have on other people would be to kind of act as a, maybe less so physical, but more a social and, social anchor for people.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to kind of rope around before the final question. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think? Well, it's paired with high school graduation.
Right.
You're about to jump into adulthood. You're 18, so legally you are, but I mean, officially, like culturally, that's really the shift is, now you're going to be out in the world.
Coming of age, yeah.
Exactly. So what do you think is expected of you as a young adult? What are you most fearful for, and what excites you?
So I think the most exciting part, I'll start with that, is the whole, concept of like, oh, you have, so much potential. The world is your oyster, that kind of thing.
I never heard oyster, but
really?
Yeah, maybe I heard a different one.
I've ever heard.
Because of the pearl, right? Or is that clams? So. I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know. It's marine life.
Oh, that is clams. What does that mean?
The world is your oyster.
But yeah, no, the main thing that I've heard is the world is your oyster.
Gotcha.
But obviously, just what it means is that it's exactly what you make of it. What you put into it is exactly what you get out of it. And I am equally as fearful as I am excited for that kind of responsibility. And it's also scary that it's not always this way, because sometimes you put more in than you get out, because and I guess this kind of actually. It's kind of a tangent, but it ties back slightly. That, in my opinion, luck is where planning meets opportunity. Where if you can sit there and be prepared or have that kind of a foundation, it's much easier to take those opportunities and things like that. So with this foundation, that's part of what I'm excited for, is knowing that I think I could take these opportunities and, I'm very motivated and very determined to go into my adult life successful, clear-headed. I guess it's maybe a weird thing to say, but honestly, I can't wait to take the punches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be.
Oh, you'll get punched, man.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'll probably regret saying that later, but
whether you said it or not, it'll happen to you.
Well, exactly, yeah.
And it could be in many years. It could be tomorrow.
So. Exactly, yeah. I don't want to, taunt God and punch me, I dare you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm definitely not. I love change, and I love adapting, and I love, even if it's, my alternate drummer dropping out or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I love being able to overcome those challenges because I feel like I can prepare for them.
Yeah.
So that I'm very excited for, but I'm also, I would say the most fearful part is that it's the uncertainty. I have no idea what it could come to, because what I imagine adult life to be, or the opportunities I may take, or whatever I think may come to me, whatever punches I think I'm going to get, once I get thrown into the fray, it's going to be nothing like my understanding of it. So I would say that's the most fearful part of it, scary part of it.
I like that answer. It's really interesting talking to you like this, because I know you from work, you know me from work.
Exactly. Yeah.
How often do I sound like this at work, right? I sound a little more crazy, right? Just because you're trying to have fun in an environment that's not exactly the most fun.
Yeah.
So it's really cool hearing these from you, and knowing how you function, and just kind of seeing what you've said in the exposure I've had to you. And it'll be cool, interviewing Tristan too, whenever his birthday is, and then being able to have you guys on and seeing you guys interact, and just you yourself, him as well, as individuals outside of the context of work, and just how do you relax, it's just a regular conversation, besides like, hey, can you scoot down those totes real quick? Can you get that car? Can you know, stuff like that. And I just have one final question for you, and that is, what makes you enjoy life?
I would say certainly that adversity and that progress that I mentioned before. It's how unpredictable it is, and how crazy it is. The fact that like I'd be more interested in track had it not been cut off by a global pandemic. You know what I mean? Like just the tectonic movements and this kind of butterfly effect of, the difference between this decision and that decision, or the ripple effect of this small or large action on a global or personal scale. I've always been very interested in the flow and relationship of those things. So I think what makes me most enjoy life is problem solving through that, critical thinking through that. I would definitely see myself as a problem solver. And I think it's also part of the reasons why I enjoy things like games and, D&D and things like that, because Dungeons and Dragons is adverse, especially when you're looking at it from I would think more so than as a dungeon master than as a player, because I present to them a situation where there's a bunch of, mean looking dudes in the corner of a tavern or something like that, and they're just getting their drinks, and I don't expect them to, run up to them and punch one of them. So I have to just, literally and metaphorically roll with these punches, and kind of being able to think on my feet, and being able to come out to the end of a session and knowing that they had fun. They felt like they could work through an interactable world, and I gave them a good story that they could follow. Knowing that I could maneuver around that, think on my feet, and make sure everybody has a good time. The challenges that come along with that, and then of course you can translate the exact same thing into music or to the punches of life. I think that's what brings me the most enjoyment, is knowing that I'm adaptable and being prepared for the things that come.
I like that answer, man. And thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really cool. Again, I love talking to people, especially ones that I know from a different context. And usually I see I always see something in somebody, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll talk to them, like for podcast wise.
Of course, yeah.
I go, okay. So I kind of vet people in a way.
Yeah, you're like,
but it's subtle. You never know. So
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Every time it's. I don't want to say it's like a risk, but you never know what you're going to get when you start talking to individuals. So thank you for spilling the beans, talking about you, allowing us to, listen to your ideas, things you've seen, things you've learned, what you've enjoyed, and just your experience.
Yeah. So. And thank you for inviting me and giving me this, this opportunity to talk about myself, because not only do I enjoy doing that, but I love talking with just interesting people, I guess. Because and thank you for seeing that in me, because I think I saw the exact same thing in you. I was like, this guy seems like a cool guy. And I think that's part of the reason why, people like I and Tristan, it's the reason why we get along so much. And I think that's the reason why all three of us get along so well. And I 100% agree in that, seeing people in different contexts. Because like meeting somebody, having a friend at school is completely different than having a friend outside of school.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And speaking with you outside of work, especially on a podcast, is completely different than it is at work. And I think it's a really eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
And,
you go, oh, this person was here the whole time.
exactly.
And then you're going to see me on Saturday and go, oh, where was that? Where's the podcast right now?
Same guy. That's
Where are the same guy. And you'll see like a tip of an iceberg of what you saw before pop up. And it's really interesting to see.
And then, every person has that.
Yeah.
And I think
in every context,
like what we were talking about, you can sense whenever there's somebody's got a large iceberg.
Yeah. Whatever that means.
Something about oysters or I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I love comments. Tell me what you think about Lander, his ideas, especially if you know him. Don't embarrass him too much, but let's hear a little bit about Lander and, maybe something you like about him, or, I don't know, something positive, please.
I'll definitely take a look. I'm open to the, I'm open to the conversation.
Yeah. If somebody's like, and if you have a question for Lander, I mean, if he ever goes into the comments, you could probably answer.
That'd actually be cool. Yeah. Maybe I should go put a little thing down there.
We'll see. I don't know how many people will see this one right now, but I got to finish up another podcast I'm editing and I'll post this one.
Yeah. And then, keep me updated.
So it'll be a couple weeks. I'm going to try to get it done before I start school. So it may be a week, maybe two. You'll be able to have it. I'll send the link to you so you can send it to whoever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So got nothing else. And again, thank you, Lander. And I'll see you guys later.
Thank you very much. Adios.
Thank you for watching In the Works. Subscribe and like for more.